right, here is the video review for Transformers Age of the Primes. We're in it now. Deluxe Waspinator. I believe it's Waspinator. Hold on, let me get that instruction sheet out right here. Because I'm pretty sure they don't. No, Fugitive Waspinator is what they call him. Even though I'm pretty sure he didn't actually start going by Waspinator until later in this animated series when he actually became more mutated. I think he was just Wasp at this point. But anyway, that's just me blabbity-dabbity. Anyway, so here he is. He's a little green car. He's a remold of Bumblebee. Again, much like he was in the show. Although I guess he wasn't maybe remolded from Bumblebee. But he's got the same Stinger weapons. They do separate into both turbojets and Stingers. So if you just want to have some jibbity jets here on the back of the car, that one's backwards. We'll plug it in like that. You have them thrust around. You can also plug them in down here. You can plug them in down here with the Stingers attached as vehicle weapons. I generally just leave them on the table or in a little bin that I put spare parts in. Just because I like Wasp, it's a fun little toy, but these can kind of get in the way, and they store more awkwardly in robot mode. In the vehicle mode, they don't bother me so much, but also if you put them in a bag, these will tend to pop apart and then you'll lose half of them, so whatever. But him, you just throw in a bag. Very cool. But anyway, you can attach those there. We'll go ahead and put them off to the side until we need them. But yeah, little car. I think for some reason, I think this works better for Wasp/Waspinator here. Just because we didn't have the time with him we had with Bumblebee. I still think the Bumblebee's great. I know some of the legacy and newer updated versions of animated figures, they're not exactly that same design cues that Derek did for the show. But I think they're earnest, and I think they do a pretty good job of taking them and putting them in a slightly different style. But I think it really works for Wasp. I was really looking forward to this one. It's the only Age of the Primes that I currently have, even on order. I had pre-ordered some of the Constructicons, although I think those are Studio Series now that I think about it. But they are coming out in the I don't know. Anyway, they're also hitting the shelves right now. I saw Red Alert in the store the other day, and I loved Red Alert back in Armada. I really loved it. I think was it Energon that had the smaller version but had the weapons that stored and you could pop on different weapons. Anyway, I like Red Alert in general, but I just wasn't feeling it. The aerial bots are out, and I'm looking at that Superion, and I appreciate what they're doing with the combiner frames, but the Superion just for whatever reason just wasn't doing it for me. I have Menasor, and I do have Vortex on pre-order because I don't know when it happened. I love the Seacons. They're still probably my favorite combiner team, but we're not getting them right now. I also love Predaking. I really used to love Defensor. That was one of my favorite combiners was Defensor. And of the two, Defensor and Menasor, even though I know they technically weren't canonically the polar opposites, it was Superion and Menasor, and then Defensor and Bruticus were the opposite sides. But Bruticus, I don't know what it is. I've really come around on enjoying Bruticus. So I do have Vortex on pre-order. I hope that turns out looking okay, because I don't know what it is. Bruticus has just become one of my favorite combiners. So anyway, back to Waspinator, an entirely unrelated to combiners figure. He rolls really well. He's just a fun little car. I know that this mold is small for a deluxe. It is a small deluxe. It feels not much larger than a Scout. It actually, if you put them on a table, isn't much larger than a Scout. It kind of splits that difference. But it's just so fun. Even as Bumblebee, it was fun. And for some reason, for me, it's even more fun for Wasp. I think the colors work better on this mold. And I just feel like a toddler running around with a car in my hand going, la, 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 la. And sometimes you need that because life is stressful. So anyway, transform him. We'll come down here and go ahead and pop the canopy up here and pop the arms out. Get them unlocked here. It's a little tab. You can wiggle. Get the arms. Come on. You can do a little wibble. You can do a wibble dibble. But you got to get down. There we go. Get the arms down like that. Then you can get this whole canopy to pop up. You can bring the arms out on these hinges. Don't you fold yet. We're not at that step. The legs come down. You want to rotate the whole leg assembly there at the waist and snap it down. It'll click into place When you fold it all the way out, the back of the car lifts up. It's just going to fold up here and kind of form the backpack. Split the legs apart. The legs are actually quite a lot of fun because you got to open up the panel here like that, and then you get to rotate this whole outer panel around like this, and like this on the outside, and then flip the feet down, and then flip up the kneecap. Dang it. It's usually not quite this hard. There we go. You got to kind of really get in there if you just cut your fingernails like I have recently. Then fold those out so the kneecap pops up. I think you can technically close these with the kneecap in if you want that, if you don't like it, but whatever. Flip out the kneecap. And there also is also a little heel piece under here. Again, if you can get to, you can flip out. Helps if you're coming from the side. There's actually a little cutaway here on the side. You can kind of get your finger in there to pop that heel out, but the little heel piece flips out. Then the whole upper body flips around. You can see tab here. You can see where that slot is up here on the canopy. Just fold that down and tab it in. Get it lined up. Right, there we go. Push it together. His head pops up. You can lift it up a little further. Bring the shoulders up to here, and then you can kind of rotate the wheel up and around so it sits properly on his shoulders. Now at this point, like his fists do flip out, but before we do that, let's go ahead and fold these panels down. You can bring his arms forward like this with the hands folded in. And then you can take the stingers off of the combined weapons and plug them together to form a combined stinger mode. And then you can plug this into the hands. And you can pose in a way where it looks like he's combining his stingers together into a blaster. Personally, I liked the way, like, on the original Bumblebee toy, back from animated, not the original Legacy mode, where they just kind of flipped out of his forearms and he had an individual stinger on each arm. You can't, because they split in half, you can do that, but because the plug-in pieces are angled in a way so that they can do that pose, it's kind of hard to get them in a decent... They don't really plug in a way that they wheeled nicely. They're always kind of look like he broke his wrists if you just leave them attached individually, but whatever. But aside from that little neat gimmick, you just flip the fists out like that and rotate it so the door is on the outside. And there's Waspinator in Fugitive Waspinator in robot mode. You see he's got a different head mold. I do wish there were, like, I know it has to fit, but I wish his head ridge was a little bit more pronounced. It's a little flat. This little lighter green V up here on his head to look more like antenna. But for the most part, it's a pretty decent little head sculpt. And it's a fun little figure. I really love the colors. I love, like, the dark green is a really nice color. He's got these really nice, vibrant purple eyes. But the kind of vibrant lime green that pops out more. You saw a little bit of it in the panels there in vehicle mode, just because of how it is. But the lime green that gets revealed for his limbs is just really nice. I really like it. And again, you can put these together, and you can hold them as, like, hand-mounted weapons if you want to give them the stingers as guns. But you can only do that if you attach them to these missiles, because, like I said, they don't peg into the hands appreciably at all, and you can't flip them in because then they just kind of sit at an angle. You can also store them. He's got a couple little peg holes on his back here to store them, which just adds too much bulk. The backpack itself does stick out a little bit off the back the way it folds up, but that's not too egregious. That looks like a spoiler or like any of the Autobot car bots. You know, I can see that working just fine. Doesn't bother me. But when you add these onto that, it just really just adds some unnecessary depth to the figure that it doesn't really need. You can kind of get him under here in the armpit, but that really affects his arm can't come all the way down. Like, it'd be nice if you could store him there without interfering with the arm articulation, but you know, you can put him down here on his feet. You can use all of the little peg holes here in robot mode, but again, that just gives him too much weight down there, and also still interferes. If you have him straight up and down, still interferes with his hands coming down. So that's why, in general, I just kind of leave these off to the side or in a parts bin and just carry the base figure around. And as a just carry around figure, he's fantastic. I love how pocketable he is in both modes. The way he's constructed, like, I don't have a whole lot of fear of, like, even in robot mode, I don't have a fear of any of these parts really popping off while I'm carrying him around. I guess the door, even the door's got a pin through it. So yeah, it's not real susceptible. You could probably do it. The hips are pinned. So, but yeah, it's safer to turn him into vehicle mode before you throw him in a pocket or a bag, because he has been in my work bag for the week and a half, 2 weeks I've had him. But yeah, some nice little detailing on the back of the legs. I'm just really happy with him. I realize it's small for a deluxe, and with deluxe prices now, I get it. But he's a lot of fun, and I think I prefer him over the original Bumblebee mold. Partly because, like, Bumblebee, I can accept more leeways with Wasp than I can. Like, Bumblebee, I want to look like Bumblebee, and his head sculpt's a little off. I can tolerate it more, partly because he's got more of just a stoic mask with, like, the big chin piece. He doesn't have quite as defined features on his face, so you can get away with a little bit more of it. But I just think overall Waspinator is the better use of this mold. Also, just to have him with some bad animated, other Decepticon villain animated characters. Although he technically kind of really, he was kind of a jerk, but he wasn't really a villain at this point in this alt mode, but whatever. There he is with animated Motormaster. So yeah, there is animated Waspinator. Found him at Target and was super stoked. I found him with a Slingshot and Air Raid, I think were the other two deluxes I saw there that day. I haven't physically seen any of the Constructicons in person, because in person I might have caved and bought one. I kind of do want to get Bone Crusher just because I remember Bone Crusher. Bone Crusher wasn't my first Transformer. It was my first Combiner team member ever. I do remember I had most of Defensor and some of Menasor. And I've told this story before, but my friend had the rest of Defensor and most of Menasor, so when we got together, we could make those two and fight, which is part of the reason why those two are the ones I always associate together in my brain. I think my friend had most of Devastator, but we never, between the two of us, we never had all 6 of them to combine them. But I remember he had, I don't know if the waist clip-on piece came with Scrapper or with Long Haul, but he had Long Haul. We had basically Long Haul, the piece that plugs into Long Haul that you could attach the legs to, Scrapper, and Bone Crusher, and maybe he had Hook. I think we were just missing Scavenger and Mixmaster were the two. We couldn't complete Devastator, but I remember. But he had most of them. I had Bone Crusher was the one I took. He was the first. That was the first Transformer I remember taking apart to see how it worked. Because he had a little spring behind the combiner peg, the rotating combiner peg on Bone Crusher inside of him, and I couldn't get that spring back in. I did eventually, but I specifically remember him being one of the first Transformers I ever took apart, just to see how it all went together when I was a kid. I was, 7 or 8. But anyway, I've talked more about other combiners, I think, that I have about Waspinator, and I really do like him. He's the one figure I've picked up so far from Age of the Primes. Some of the Primes look good. Onyx Prime may get me when that comes out. And like I said, I've got Vortex on pre-order. I'll pre-order the Combaticons as they come out. Star Optimus Prime was what they're calling him. We'll see. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of focusing more on the figures that I want versus like I need every figure. Although I am desperately waiting at this point for Hasbro to give me that Omega Prime that I backed on the HasLab last year, because I know some people in New Zealand have final versions of it, which means it's done, which means it's shipping. Those things they don't want to sit those things in a warehouse. Somebody said they may have hit the California ports a couple of weeks ago, and like, do not make me wait until fall of 2025. I know that's what it said, even though for some reason I thought it was March 2025 we were expected to get this, but like, I'm going to play with that one. It's so bad. People have it. I know they're done. Please don't keep us waiting, Hasbro. At least say something. Let us know so we have an idea of when this long national nightmare might be over. Well, that long national nightmare might be over. There are several like you can choose from, but I just want to play with Omega Prime. Please let me. Anyway, other Transformers aside, Waspinator is really cool. You should pick him up if you have the dough, because I think he's the coolest. I think that's it. I think he's the coolest. I don't have a whole lot to go on about personally this week. Work was rough, but I'm kind of through the worst part of work now that we're through April, or mostly into April. for the time being, and we'll stress all again in October. But for right now, I got a little bit of breathing room, and I'm doing okay. I hope you all are too. Take it easy, de-stress, unlatch yourself from the news cycle. For the love of God, play a video game or read a book. Read a book. Books are good. Play with a Transformer. Go play with a Transformer you haven't played with in a while. You all got one on your shelf that's like, it sits back there in the back. It's probably a little dusty. You haven't touched it in a while, but you had to have it when it first came out because it was a character that you liked or you were super excited to have it. Go find that joy again. Go grab a Transformer on your shelf that you haven't touched in a while and play with it. And I hope it brings you the same joy it did when you first got it. Anyway, take it easy. I'll check y'all later.